Ancient China was one of the oldest civilizations in our history. The history of ancient China can be traced back over 4,000 years ago. What is now the territory of China was inhabited by early hominids more than a million years ago. Studies show that some stone tools dated to 1.3 million years ago. Early evidence of Proto-Chinese agriculture dated to about 7,000 BC, and it seems that the earliest evidence of cultivated rice is from 8,000 years ago. Farming was the main reason for the growth of cultures and population in China. Farming gave the rise to the Jiahu culture, which developed the Chinese proto-writing. Yangtze, the Yellow and the Pearl rivers provided the necessary fertile lands for agriculture. Because of this, many other cultures were created and expanded in this area. Large communities flourished from 5 to 3000 BC, with evidence of agriculture, constructed buildings, and burial of the dead. In late Neolithic times, the Yellow River began to establish itself as a center of Yangshao culture, and the first villages were founded. Later, Yangshao culture was superseded by the Longshan culture, which was also centered on the Yellow River from about 3000 BC to 2000 BC. In the Bronze Age, artifacts have been found. Metallurgy begins to appear in the Yangtze Valley in the 6th century BC. The history of ancient China as an organized society could start with the Xia dynasty, which is believed to be the first. This dynasty was considered mythical by historians until some excavations were made, and after some research, it's believed that it existed. The Xia dynasty ended after the Battle of Mingqiao between them and the Shang tribe, which resulted in a Shang victory. And the Shang dynasty ruled China for about 600 years. The Zhou dynasty was the longest-lasting dynasty in Chinese history. The spring and autumn period is marked by the falling apart of this central power. China broke up in hundreds of small states. In time, the larger and more powerful states annexed and claimed suzerainty over the small ones. Big personalities like Confucius or Sun Tzu lived in this period, ruled by instability known as the Warring States. The Qin dynasty unified these states and created a Great Wall of China. The Han dynasty was a period of economic growth, stability and prosperity for Chinese people. The Han dynasty is named the Golden Age in Chinese history by building the foundation of China as an unified and powerful state. Science, art and culture all advanced as it wasn't seen before in this part of the world. One example, mathematical innovations. The dynasty name Han had been taken as the name of the Chinese people we know today as Han Chinese. The Han expanded into the west and the Silk Road was opened. The Three Kingdoms. By the 2nd century the empire declined and three kingdoms were born: Wei, Shu, and Wu. In 266, the Jin dynasty overthrew the Wei and later unified the country in 280, but for a short period of time. Northern China divided into a series of independent kingdoms, most of which were founded by Xiongnu, Xianbei, Jie, Die, and Shang rulers, which were ethnically speaking Mongols, Turks, or Tibetans. This period is known as the 16 Kingdoms period, and it's marked by instability. In the early 5th century, China entered a period known as the Northern and Southern dynasties, in which many regimes ruled the northern and the southern halves of the country. In the south, the Jin gave way to the Liu Song, Southern Qi, Liang, and Chen, while in the north, the nomadic people called Xianbei will unify the kingdoms with the name of Northern Wei. The Northern Wei eventually split into Eastern and Western Wei. These regimes were dominated by Xianbei or Han Chinese, who had married into Xianbei families. From this one, we can learn that the marriage between royal families could change borders or regimes, pretty much as in medieval Europe. During this time, the Xianbei will be assimilated by the Han people. Buddhism spread through the land of China despite the division of the country. Sui dynasty unified China again, ending the 3 centuries of political division. Sui China was known for its numerous mega construction projects. Intended for grain shipment and transporting troops, the Grand Canal was constructed, linking the capitals Daxing and Luoyang to the wealthy southeast region, and in another route to the northeast border. The Great Wall was also expanded, while a series of military conquests and diplomatic maneuvers were made. However, the massive invasion of the Korean peninsula failed, and that led to the fall of this dynasty. Most Chinese regard the Tang dynasty as the high point of imperial China. The Tang dynasty was founded by Emperor Gaozu on 18 June 618. It was a golden age of Chinese civilization and one of the most prosperous periods of China with significant developments. Chang'an, the capital, is believed to be the largest city in the world during its time. Due to internal revolts, China will break up again. The period is known as 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms. The period of political disunity lasted from 907 to 960. 5 regimes, Liang, Tang, Jin, Han and Tu, rapidly succeeded one another in the control of the empire. Most stable and smaller regimes of mostly ethnic Han rulers coexisted in southern and western China over the period of 10 kingdoms. Wars dominated the northern China and there were mass southward migrations. In 960, the Song dynasty was founded by Emperor Taizu. The Song dynasty reunified most of China, but there were 2 more kingdoms in the north, western Xia and Liao. Song attacked Liao for some territories close to the Great Wall. The campaign was a failure and Liao imposed heavy annual tributes from the Song treasury. Within the Liao Empire, some tribes revolted against their overlords to establish the Jin dynasty in 1115, which fought the Song and took the northern provinces. The era will end with a Mongol invasion. Western Xia fell in 1227, the Jin dynasty in 1234, and finally the southern Song dynasty fell in 1279. The new Mongol dynasty, the Yuan, was formally proclaimed in 1271 when the Great Khan, Kublai Khan, one of the grandsons of Genghis Khan, assumed the additional title of the Emperor of China. In this period, the Grand Canal was reconstructed and Quanzhou and Hangzhou emerged as the largest ports in the entire world. The contact to the west happened. Marco Polo settled in China and then inspired other Europeans to reach the Far East. In this dynasty, the paper was used as a method of currency for the first time. This was the father of our banknotes. Some Chinese didn't want to be under a Mongolian regime and some revolts happened, and the Ming dynasty will form in 1368. Before Mongolian invasions, Chinese dynasties reported 120 million people living in China, afterwards reporting just 60 million people due to invasion, killing, plague, and maybe failure to record the exact numbers. Urbanization increased as the population grew again. China became a power once more, making contact with the outside world. Japan, states from Indochina, and exploring the Indian Ocean and even the east coast of Africa and Arabia. This was the exploration of Shang He. The Manchurians proclaimed the Qing dynasty, which ruled all of China and was the last imperial dynasty. Chinese defeated the new power in the region, Russia, and established a border in the north. By the end of the 18th century, China was a world power. 1/3 of the world's population existed in Chinese Empire, and they had the largest economy in the world. But after this, it was a collapse again for the Chinese. China was defeated by British in the First Opium War, losing Hong Kong. Clan wars, rebellions, religious wars all made the empire weaker and weaker, China losing millions of people in these years. The Western powers sought to claim some territories in these regions. At the end of the 19th century, China lost the First Sino-Japanese War against Japan, the new power on the east. Seeing all the struggles, failing of reformation and instability, the dynasty was overthrown and the republic was proclaimed in 1912, ending 2000 years of dynastic rule over China. At the end of the First World War, a large wave of dissatisfaction hit China. Because at the Treaty of Versailles, the German territories in China were given to Japan instead. After the war, many communist revolts started in China, and fights happened between government and communist revolutionaries, which tried to make like a Chinese Soviet country. But when the Second Sino-Japanese War started, the Chinese formed a united front against their common enemy. The Second Sino-Japanese War is part of the World War II, where Japanese forces tried to invade China, but they failed. After 1945, when Japanese forces surrendered, a civil war happened in China, and the communists had established control over most of the country in the final. The nationalist government retreated to Taiwan. On 1st October 1949, Mao Zedong proclaimed the People's Republic of China. From that time on, a large growth of population happened, from 500 million people to 1.3 billion today. China started to build industries and factories, and building up its economy. It was accepted as the real China in 1972 and was admitted to the United Nations in place of Republic of China, today's Taiwan. The communist China took a different step than the other communist countries, making more liberal reforms and opening their market. By doing so, the economy grew rapidly with more than 10% per year for more than 20 years. Today, China is a world power, as it was back in the time. And I really think China as a country has one of the most, if not the richest history in the entire world. I want to thank you for watching this long video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe for more history videos. See you next time.